It's a game of honor. It's a game of respect. It's a game unlike any other, filled with traditions and pageantry, unlike any other. It is one of college football's greatest rivalries and spectacles. And this Saturday, for the 124th time, Army and Navy will face each other on the gridiron with everything on the line. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us today, ready to break down the Army-Navy game, America's game, this Saturday in Foxborough. Many of you maybe have shifted your attention to the postseason, to bowl games, and we're here to reel you back in because we do have a football game this Saturday, the only football game this Saturday, and you are not going to want to miss it. So welcome back to the channel. We're so glad you could join us. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks, that holiday special over on thegridironexpert.com, where you will get every single college football bowl game spread pick and every single NFL playoff game spread pick for an extremely, extremely low price. The lowest price in the entire country for some of the best picks in the entire country, as we are hitting out over 60% of our bets this season and have hit over 60% of our postseason bets each of the last 5 years. So if you want to win big, go take advantage of it. It's our gift to you, and become a member of our GE Nation. Speaking of our GE Nation, before we dive deeper into this Army-Navy game, we got to give a major shout out to our guys, DM and Murph the Surf, two of the guys that have been part of our GE Nation the longest, two of the biggest diehard GE fans we've had, and we cannot thank you guys enough, both of you, for your support. They hooked us up with the gear we've got behind us. We've got our Navy pennant, our Army pennant, and our Air Force pennant, each of the 3 military academies that are playing D1 football, the FBS football. We could not be more happy to have them on display, especially for a video like this. And you got Air Force down here, and you go, look, Air Force isn't even playing. Why are we talking about them? Air Force is a diehard Navy fan this Saturday, because if Navy can beat Army, Air Force will retain the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. But if Army beats Navy, then the Black Knights will get the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. So DM, Murph the Surf, thank you so much. It's a great addition to our wall. We're so pumped to have them up here, and we thank you both very much for all of your support. And if you want to contribute more to the Gridiron Expert background, the address to send in your team's gear is down in the description below. So let's take a look at this game, guys. The all-time series, one of the best rivalries in college football, and we don't talk about nearly enough, right? Army-Navy, they're never really squaring off for a playoff spot, national title hopes like Alabama-Auburn do, Michigan-Ohio State do, teams like that. But this is still an epic, historic rivalry. Again, unmatched maybe by any other rivalry in the entire country. Navy leads the all-time series 62-54-7, so they have an 8-game lead over the Black Knights, although Army cut into that lead last year, winning 20-17 in a double overtime thriller. But it should be noted that these two teams have alternated wins since 2018. Back and forth since 2018. No team has won consecutive matchups. So if we're following the pattern, Navy is going to win this Saturday. Well, it remains to be seen. Take a look at how these two teams got here. They're both 5-6, but regardless of who wins, the winner will not go bowling. Both are ineligible to go bowling. They will not be in the postseason. So this is for everything, right? Everything is on the line this Saturday. This is Army and Navy's bowl game. Army, they started the year 2-1, including a win at UTSA, lost 5 straight games, and then won their last 3, including a 20-point victory over Air Force. Navy, on the other hand, they were 3-3 to start the year, then went 2-3 down the stretch, losing 5 of their final 6 games, 5 of their 6 games by double digits this year. Take a look at the offense, and we'll start with Army here. You know when Army and Navy face off, and even Air Force, that they're going to run the ball. It's that triple option. It's very, very difficult to stop, even though you know it's coming. And that's what's so fun about these programs, but so frustrating if you're on the opposite side of them, if you're playing defense against one of these programs. The Black Knights are averaging just a little under 21 points per game, and the key for them is they got to hit 23. They got to hit 23 points, man. They have scored at least 23 points in 4 of their 5 wins this year. That's the key, right? If you hold them to under that, their Army's probably not going to have enough to win the game. We know they don't really pass the ball that much, neither does Navy, but the Black Knights are averaging over 209 rushing yards per game. Bryson Daly at quarterback, leading the way with 821 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. Also 859 passing yards and 6 touchdowns. So Daly has really been a pleasant surprise for Army, kind of entering the year with a handful of quarterback questions. I think he's fit the role perfectly. They have 7 players with over 100 rushing yards on the year. The offensive line's only given up 13 sacks and is paving the way for their running game to average 4.4 yards per carry. So Army is doing a really, really good job of moving the football, and Daly has kind of, to me, become a budding star who has an opportunity to be even better next year than he was this year. Navy, on the other hand, they're allowing scoring, 18.3 points per game. That's it. They've only scored 21 points or more 5 times. That's it. 11 games, they've scored over 21 5 times. They've been held to 14 points or less 5 times. So it's interesting there. Interesting how Navy, what kind of offense are you going to get? Are you going to get one that eclipses the 21-point mark, or are you going to see a lower scoring game, kind of like last year where the midshipmen were held to just 17? This is a year for Navy that's been really inconsistent offensively, and they've had to deal with a lot of changes at quarterback. You've had Ty Lavatai in there. He's the leading passer, sure, but Xavier Arline has played. Braxton Woodson has shown promise for the midshipmen this year. This is a team that, again, like Army, doesn't really want to throw the football that much. They're averaging over 200 rushing yards per game, led by Alex Texa, who has over 700 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns, averaging 6.2 yards per carry. And don't forget Dabo Fofana as well. Had a phenomenal 2022, was supposed to be a budding star this year. He has played extremely well. 8 players with over 100 rushing yards for the midshipmen. Army averages 4.4 yards per carry. Navy, as a team, averages 4.3 yards per carry. So, it's chunk plays. Just slowly but surely chipping your way down the field. That's how Army and Navy beat you, is they 4 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 70 yards. I mean, it's just they find ways to continually just pound the rock, and it makes it very, very difficult for the opposing team's defenses. Speaking of defenses, take a look at Army. The Black Knights have been known for a very physical style of defense, and in recent years under Jeff Monken, they've played pretty phenomenal ball on defense. They really have. They're giving up just 369 yards per game. That's not a bad mark. But Army has struggled mightily in stopping the run. The one thing they need to do to win this game, they've struggled mightily. They're giving up over 180 rushing yards per game. They gave up 239 rushing yards to Holy Cross in a 3-point victory over the FCS program. 155 rushing yards to Air Force, which isn't bad. Army won that game over Air Force by 20 points, not necessarily because their offense was great or anything like that, because the defense forced 6 Air Force turnovers. The Falcons could not hold on to the ball, and Army took advantage of that. 155 to the Falcons. They gave up 231 rushing yards to UMass, 202 rushing yards, and a shutout loss to LSU, 222 rushing yards, and a shutout loss to Troy, 321 rushing yards to Boston College, 158 to Syracuse, 207 to ULM. The majority of their games, Army has struggled mightily to get any stop, any push on the ground. But despite all of that, the Black Knights have only allowed over 21 points 4 times. And those were in games against UTSA, of which Army won, Syracuse, Boston College, and LSU. 3 of those games were against Power 5 teams. They nearly beat Boston College and hung with Syracuse for about 3 quarters. So despite giving up a lot of chunk yards on the ground, Army has been competitive, and they've hung in their games. They've done that through, again, a bend but don't break type of defense, and also a defense that's been very fortuitous when it comes to the turnover game, forcing 17 turnovers on the year. 6 of those, though, coming in that game against Air Force. Take a look at Navy. They've allowed over 21 points 6 times. They are 1-5 in games like that. So that's a stat you need to keep in mind here, right? You look at Army, they're 5-6. In 4 of the 5 games they've won, they've scored at least 23 points. Navy, they've lost 6 games. They are 1-5. They've lost 5 of their 6 games where they've allowed over 21 points. There you go. So is Army going to get that mark? If they do, Navy probably loses. If Navy can hold Army under that mark, Navy probably wins. So that's a really interesting stat line to monitor as you enter this game. And typically with the running clock rule that we now have in college football, the style that these two teams play, I would expect a relatively low-scoring game between the Black Knights and the Midshipmen. So Navy, again, the key for them defensively is if they can hold Army to under 21 points, I think they're going to be really good. I think Navy has an opportunity to win this game. They're a team that's forced 24 turnovers this year. And while they are giving up more rushing yards per game than Army, 191 on the ground, they have 6 straight games. 6 straight games where they've held their opponents to under 140 rushing yards. They're 4-3 in those games. It's really, really interesting. It's really interesting to see as kind of the whole picture of Army and Navy this season. It's really been fun to watch. Navy seems to be getting better and has gotten better over the back half of the year in terms of stopping the run, but can they do it now against a very run-heavy team in Army? Bottom line, guys, this is going to be a phenomenal matchup. To me, it always is. The tradition and the spectacle that is the Army-Navy game, to me, is truly unmatched. It really is. From the flyover to the traditions of the cadets to the prisoner exchange where the Navy student goes back to Navy, and the Army student goes back to the Army after spending time at each of their opposing programs. It's unbelievable. The sights, the sounds, everything. The respect that both these programs have for each other, not just prior to the game, not just during the game, but even after the game when they are singing their fight songs, when they are singing their alma maters. It is a beautiful, beautiful sight to see. It is a reason it is called America's game. And again, if you want to see some fun, smash mouth style football, this is the game for you. 9 of the last 12 meetings between Army and Navy have been decided by one possession. 5 of those wins went to Navy. 4 of those wins went to Army. It's been a pretty even and pretty competitive series over the last decade or so. But ultimately, guys, when it comes to picking a winner, when it comes to picking this team, I've got to lean with the Army Black Knights. Give me Army to beat Navy for the second year in a row and clinch the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. I love Bryson Daly at quarterback. I think Army's got the edge at quarterback, not just from a passing standpoint, but from a rushing standpoint as well. I believe Jeff Monken comes in here. He has his defense ready to go. They find a way to slow down Navy, who this year has been, to me, too inconsistent, doesn't have much clarity on the offensive side of the ball. I think it bites them in a game like this. It will be very close. We're going to see another one-possession game, at least in my eyes. Army, though, escapes with the victory. They get their second straight win over Navy and capture the Commander-in-Chief's trophy in the process. Talk about a historic night. Talk about a way to end the official college football regular season. Stay tuned for this game Saturday. It is a game that you certainly will not want to miss. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks, our holiday special there for you. Do not miss out on that. Once again, want to give another major shout out to my guys DM and Murph the Surf. We love the gear we've got up here. Picking Army. We're going with the Black Knights right here. But all the credit in the world to Navy, all the credit in the world to Air Force, and all the credit in the world to you guys for hooking us up with some fantastic gear. We really do appreciate you and all of your support. And to everybody else, we will be back here later next week with our official bowl game predictions. Do not miss out on those. We can't wait for it to start. The postseason officially underway when Army and Navy finishes up in Foxborough. But until then, stay tuned, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.